Stupid. Ah, very good. Yes. Oh, wow. Oh, sexy. What's this? Oh, that's pretty good. Ah, yes. Oh, that's a good read. Okay, let's get serious. Like this. And this. We go here, and then we go one of these. We go. Oh, I didn't see you there. That's not, no. God. Or maybe if it's like one of these. Like. Oh wow. Oh, maybe if I look at it the right way. Wow, that's impressive. That's some quality stuff. Wow. Oh. Nice. Nice. Mm. 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 Okay, we gotta get serious. Now the question is, I don't know how the audio is gonna be on here, so maybe that'll be good. And welcome to class. Sit down and shut the fuck up. I can't say that. That is pretty good. All right. Welcome to class. Oh, all right, here's the deal. So, I have a lot of notes and a lovely raspy voice. This is not how I wanted to start semester 1, lecture 1, but here we are. This is what happened. So the other day, I was out for lunch, brunch, breakfast, what have you, at some pancake restaurant, and I'm with my brother and my mom, and by happenstance, this kid of a coworker that used to be my brother's old coworker, you know, they just happened to be sitting next to us, and his son comes over. Kid is like 6, 5, and he comes and he pays me tribute by shaking my hand. I'm a gentleman, I'm not gonna say no. And after he proceeds to shake my hand, he puts it like in his mouth, sneezes, coughs on it, and then like eats it, and I'm just like, you son of a bitch, you got me sick, you little rat. So, needless to say, I've been resting. I'm blowing my nose about 1,000 times a day. But if my voice sounds raspy, it's because that little weasel got me sick. So I have some notes here for, we're gonna call this orientation. Orientation. And I thought about it a lot of why Ratlife University? We tried this before 2 years ago, if anyone remembers. I was sitting in a place similar to this. Not as well, groomed, not as well dressed. I was looking like a peasant. Maybe I'll find a clip of that. But it's been a very long time since I've filmed a lecture. And then I thought about, like, why am I doing this university? What is the goal? What is the purpose? What do I want to give to people, right? And this was my first thought. Number one is I want to give people the escape from the rat life. That's the premise of the university. As in, anyone who's going to be affiliated with Ratlife University, it's not going to be the condemnation into the rat life, which is a life of perpetual slavery that you get indoctrinated in upon going to the regular educational school university system. That is the first and number one prerogative. Number two is, when I have a son, this is the greatest gift that I'll be able to give him, is the totality and the cultivation of all of these lectures. Because the best thing you can give to a young man isn't money, but it's just great parenting, which there's a great quote from one of the books that we'll discuss in a lecture to come that goes, life, it's not about what you get, it's about who you become and what you're able to give now that you've become more. So the whole journey of this university isn't about what we get, it's not about what we learn, it's about the man, I was going to say or woman, but this university is primarily for men. The man that you become in order to achieve the goal, in order to achieve it. And the reason that I specify men is because if I do my job correctly, the goal will be to create made men. And as a result, these men will bring out the best in women. So that's who this is primarily targeted to, and this is the third reason why I'm doing the university and why this preliminary orientation video is going to be more, not sad, but quite honest, because I watched a great video yesterday with my good friend Ricardo, and it was Alex Ramosi talking about how to start a business properly. And the premise of it is laying a brick as perfectly as you can, one brick at a time. That's it. And so the only way that I can do that is by being completely honest, transparent, and vulnerable. Because if I'm anything but authentic, if I'm anything but real from the jump, then we don't have a foundation solidified. Like if I just spew bullshit, which is going to be the antithesis of this university, then what's the point? So the real reason, and I thought about this, and I'm so glad I had this epiphany this past weekend, but the real reason why I'm doing this university is because I've felt like a fucking failure for nearly 8 years now, and I don't want anyone to feel how I've felt. So I thought the best thing for the orientation, and it's interesting because I currently work in a school district, and I work with the coaches who then work with the teachers on how you should sort of structure your class when you're starting a new class, when it's at the beginning of a new year. And you really just spend the first week being honest, being open, being vulnerable, and just getting to know your students. And I really had to sit down and analyze myself in terms of the person who I am abroad, the person who I am here, and my story leading up until this point. So I'm going to take a couple notes, abroad versus here, because I want to touch back on that after I tell you my little story of failure. And nobody wants to do this, man. Nobody wants to highlight their lows or what's brought them to this point. The title of this video is Rock Bottom, because that's where I feel like I've been for so long. And so I feel like just by being honest, then I can finally move forward and move up and stop being this fucking loser that I've been perpetuating for so long. So I graduated from UCLA when I was like the week that I turned 21. I got in when I was 16. When I was a kid, I was raised in a Muslim household, and we all skipped a grade when we were younger. Like I did kindergarten and first grade the same year, so I was always 1 year ahead. So I was still a super minor. I think I turned maybe 17 the week of going into UCLA. But that was the time of the Barack Obama voting, so I remember that I was 17 and I couldn't vote. But I was always smart. I was always intelligent. I was always smarter than everybody else in any class that I've ever taken up until college. And so I never tried. And then when I got into university, then I got into the one that I wanted, and then I just went on cruise control. As in, I was showing Ricardo the other day my transcripts, dude. I got C's, D's, and F's, and a lot of F's, and I was subject to dismissal twice. And I was fed the lie that a lot of other people are fed when they go to university, that your grades actually mean anything, that your success or failure here actually means anything when you leave the university. It's the biggest fucking lie that you get told. And I had some super shitty professors who would even use fear to manipulate their students. For example, if you don't buy this textbook, you're going to fail this class, and if you fail this class, then you're going to be a failure in life. That motherfucker was the author of the book that was being sold. He made a commission on the sales of that textbook. But you as a kid going into university, you don't know any better. And so you buy into that fear that this is the end all be all. It's bullshit. There's a quote by Albert Einstein that goes, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its entire life thinking it's an idiot. And that is the premise of university, dude. Some people are horrific test takers. Some people like me have a genuine animosity for memorization, regurgitation, which that is when I made my transition from life science classes into classics. classical ancient history, the study of ancient Greece, ancient Rome. And what I learned was to pursue passion at a very young age, despite what anybody else thinks about me. Dude, I got called a fucking loser, a failure from family, for you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, etc. And I can be honest, dude, all UCLA gave me was $39,000 in student loan debt that I still have, that I haven't paid a dollar to, for different reasons. But primarily because I feel like personally at some point that with where this country is going, they'll be absolved. But it's something that I'm working to get settled this coming year. But the whole point of it is I could have gotten the same education for a $5 library card. So because nobody tells you when you go into university that you're about to get fucked. And people find out later, and that's when the rat life trap really sets in. As in, and when I really want to hammer this home of how long I felt like a failure for so long. I graduated from UCLA with a bachelor's degree to get hired as a personal trainer making minimum wage when all of my friends got salary jobs out of the gate. And then I would do that job for 2 years, feeling like a fucking loser. And then I would get introduced to working in a school district for the first time, where I still wasn't making too much. It was like $3,000 per month. And that job would equate to about $60K in salary income. And then I would quit that job and I would resign to pursue entrepreneurship. And that's when I started Ratlife. Seriously, but I had the idea for Ratlife since 2015, since my junior year in college. It just took me like 7 years to put 6 years to put in 5 years. Yeah, 2020 was when I finally put action behind it. It took me 5 years to sort of turn the key to start. It was just a concept, it was just an idea, because I was constantly living that rat life. Outside of, when I graduated from UCLA, I lived on the couch. Well, it was in the living room on like a mattress with my brother and my uncle. So it was a 2-bedroom and I lived in the living room for 6 months in Irvine. Then I would move into a rental room from a home in Santa Ana that had cockroaches and rats. Super shitty. And I lived there for, I think it was another 6 months. And then I was taking the bus every day, and I would have to put my laundry in a suitcase and walk a mile to the bus stop to go do laundry. Like that to me was the fucking rat life. And before that, during that, it was also working a minimum wage job. And then it was my day being stretched so far, 16 to 18 hours, because I would take the bus to work, and then the bus to the gym, and then the gym to home. So I had to like wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I didn't come back until like 11 just to start the whole day over again, right? To live in a shithole. Then I would finally get that new job at that school, and then I would move into my own apartment for the first time. And dude, that was bliss, that was freedom. I got my Mustang. I lived in this, beautiful 1-bedroom apartment before the whole COVID thing. So before inflation, before any of that. So the rent was like $1,650 for a 1-bedroom, and it was great. But then I did the math, and then I said, hold on, my overhead expenses is like $3,500 at the time, 36, between all of my food and car payment, insurance, electricity, utilities, gas, whatever. And my job is only paying me $3,000 after taxes. And I was like, I have to also do side hustles such as client trainings or ebooks or whatever side business in terms of fitness that I had to do just to fucking break even. And so I did the math. I said, wait a second, if I continue to do this, then I will just be where this person is. And so you look at your surroundings and you look at the person who's been there for a decade and you say, do I want to be there in 10 years? Because if I don't do anything, that's exactly who I'm going to be. And so when you do the math and you're just like, whoa, the whole system is designed for me to be a rat in a cog in a wheel, to be a rat in this race, to live in this rat life, drowning in debt in perpetuity until you die. And so that brings me to the premise of this university is, dude, I don't want anyone to get fucked like I got, because nobody told me prior to going in, excuse me, about student loan debt, about the credit card trap, about I haven't done the mortgage yet, but that's another one that people get into for a single unit. And then your car note, because nobody buys a car, they finance it, and then you have the insurance on that, and then you have health insurance, and then you have gas, and then you have interest on all this shit, and your bills get so high that you learn, oh, what the fuck? I have to work for necessity just to not die, just to live. And so then you find yourself years later living in a place you don't want to live in, driving in a car you don't want to drive, dating somebody you don't want to date, and you're trapped. And this whole university is about self-accountability. And because I've been such a fucking failure for so many years, that's the greatest gift that I can give anyone watching this, is I can save you years of failure in every category of your life. Whether it's financial fucking disarray, whether it's your physical health, whether it's your emotional and relational disposition, is through my learnings, through my experience, through my failure, that's what I can impart. And that's gonna be the greatest gift that I give my son one day when he watches these. So, and when I came to that realization, that's when I learned and got into personal development, which was laughed at even by my sibling, my brother, etc. But I was like, this is the way. This is the only way to freedom. Because if I work a job and my job is taxed, and then this is going to this 401k, and then you get these scraps, man. And I'll say it in this video, I've said it before, but what slavery used to be was, we don't pay you, but we give you free living and free food, right? And then you're my slave. It was a debt back in time. Now all they did was introduce fiat currency. They just introduced pieces of paper that you use to pay for living and food and have effectively nothing left over. And in the system, in the rat race, in the rat life that you're in, you will trade your time and energy for a finite amount of pieces of paper that the Federal Reserve, can print infinitely. Think of that for a second. I can push a button and print these pieces of paper infinitely, and I know that you will trade your life, your energy. It's such a good book, The Alchemist, which is going to be a part of the semester, and they use the analogy of sheep. That they're willing to give their wool, they're willing to give their milk. Do sheep give milk? Maybe it was a goat that he was in the analogy. I've never had sheep milk. Excuse me. And they're even willing to give their lives, their meat, for the fucking scraps, right? That is your life, dude. Living in the rat race. That's the rat life, man. It's working a dead-end job. It's living paycheck to paycheck. It's being in a relationship void of trust, of love, of respect, of passion. Working a job you fucking hate, to a boss that you despise, to come home to a house that you don't want to live in, from driving your car that you don't want to drive. And it's a life of fucking mediocrity that you settled for because you lack the fucking courage to try. And the worst part about it is, at times end, you're going to justify it and you're going to rationalize it, why you quit, why you gave up. That's bullshit. Because the reality of it is, you were too much of a pussy to take the action, because you gave more of a fuck about what other people thought about you, about seeing you in your low, in your before. So let's go further with my failure. So that's when I resigned and I pursued entrepreneurship full time, and I would go travel the world, and I started my business, Ratlife, right? The idea that anyone could escape this fucking rat race, dude, starting with belief and the courage to pursue. That's it. We're all gonna make it. That's what rat life means, right? Which is tied in with this university, dude. Anyone can escape this fucking rat life trap. It's an education problem. You go to school to learn how to be a good employee. They condition you. Think about it. They tell you when to go to class. They tell you to sit down. They tell you to shut the fuck up. They tell you that, this is in the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you make a mistake, we're going to condemn you. We're going to ostracize you. The only way you learn in the real world is through failure. But that's not what they want. So they want, when you graduate, to be so perpetually afraid to fail that you're too afraid to, man, because you were conditioned that if you fail, it's the worst thing ever. That's the only way you learn. And then you improve, and then you grow, and then you get to the next level, and then you get the good problems. It's this cycle, like this. And that'll be in semester 2 when we go over Principles by Ray Dalio. He discusses it. So think about it, dude. The only way that you succeed in business is by networking. Yet when you're in a classroom, you're not allowed to collaborate with your neighbor. That's called cheating. The bank, the Federal Reserve, can infinitely print money, but when you do it, it's called counterfeiting. But when they do it, it's called quantitative easing. It's all bullshit. It's an education problem that we can bridge through personal development and personal agency and accountability. By understanding, dude, this life is your responsibility. No one's coming to fucking save you. And that's why the logo of Ratlife is now a key. Because I can't save you, but I can give you the fucking key, dude. I can give you the key to your escape. But only you can save yourself. So, I traveled the world for 6 months, knowing that, and people would ask me all the time, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it, especially during COVID? Aren't you afraid? All this bullshit. And I said, this might be the only chance that I get to do this. Because I don't have the obligation or responsibility of a mortgage, of a kid, of, whatever. What if I don't have this opportunity again? I don't want to look back on my life with the burden of what if, the agony of regrets, the thought of, excuse me, what could I have done had I had the courage to pursue, to try? I don't want that pain. So I did that and I came back. And this has been a 2 fucking year grind to climb out of this fucking hole that I've dug myself in because, excuse me, when I started Ratlife the second time, so I launched this orange creamsicle flavor back in 2020, 50 bottles, not knowing how good I had it, $12.50 a bottle with a shitty label print, but dude, it was ready, done, free shipping, like $250 deposit. Oh my gosh. $1,500 all in. Wow. But I would just break even because I didn't understand sales. I didn't understand anything. So I might need to get some water. But excuse me. Then I would do the business again with my brother. And this is where I got really fucked. And this is I learned so many lessons the hard way that I'm going to impart on everybody watching this video, is how important communication is in business. I was under the impression that my brother and I were doing this together. And I learned this from the book, The 10X Rule, that we'll go over in another lecture. But the 2 mistakes that I made that I could just share with you really quick are, don't overestimate the amount of support you're going to get. Don't underestimate the amount of work it's going to take. That was a mistake I made so incredulously. As in, I got 50 verbal yeses from everyone I knew. Oh my gosh, you're coming out with this pre-workout? Oh, it's pink Starburst flavor? Oh my gosh, yes. Dude, tell me. It's done. Got it. So I had 50 yeses. I knew 100 people. I was like, dude, I'm going to sell 100 by myself. I got my brother on the team. I got a couple friends. I was like, dude, we'll do 300 the first weekend. We'll break even from the debt for this purchase order of 600 units. By month 2, dude, we'll be cash flow positive. We'll net 20 grand. And then we launched. And I sold 8 bottles in a month. Because everybody ran away. There was no support. There was no, everybody had their bills. Everyone had, all of it. And so reality set in. I was just like, oh shit. So now we have $30,000 in product, and what do we do? Right? So when I came back from Europe, I was sleeping on my sister's floor, essentially, on a blow-up mattress for 8 weeks. And before that, in a hotel, because she was traveling in Illinois for 4 weeks. So I did that for 12 weeks, and that's when I started Ratlife University, because I felt confident filming videos by myself because I had the whole apartment to myself. And then I loved it. I felt like I was so in harmony with myself, but I didn't know anything. I didn't have any real world experience with running a business, with failing, with what I've learned in relationships and with women and with you name it, right? After that, I finally got a flight back to California where I would sleep on my brother's floor for 5 weeks prior to us getting the lease together. And I wanted to keep my overhead expenses as low as possible, so before I left to Europe, I sold my Mustang, a newer Mustang that I got, and I would sleep in a closet, just like in the Harry Potter movie, literally that size, on a blow-up mattress for 13 months, because I wanted to keep my overhead expenses as low as possible to keep the dream of Ratlife alive. And so that's what I did for 13 months, and I did everything in sales. And another book that's not here that we're going to read in the first semester is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Because in business, you want to sell on your why, dude. And I had to do every manipulation in the book. As in, when the why gets fuzzy, you have to use how and what in order to purport your sale, in order to close a deal. So I had to do these buy one, get one frees. And I had to do these free shippings. And I had to do buy one, get two frees. And all this bullshit that just diluted the quality of this fucking amazing product. This amazing product that took 2 years from a conceptual idea, something I just wrote down on a piece of fucking paper to come to life. I had to learn so much, dude, to get this done. I didn't know anything about label printing. I didn't know anything about CMYK, RGB. I didn't know what the fuck matte versus gloss finish was. I didn't know web page design, accounting, bookkeeping, marketing, sales, generating referrals, overcoming objections. I didn't know any of that shit. You learn so much as an entrepreneur, dude, and it exposes all of your weak points. It exposes who you are. Everything, your strengths, your weaknesses, and I was such a shitty leader. There's another book by Simon Sinek called Leaders Eat Last. Because I was doing this full time and I was the only one who went all in on it, I had to use every sale to just cover my overhead expenses, and that still wasn't enough. I still had to train clients on the side or sell whatever, online coaching, what have you, to not die. And no one could appreciate, dude, the cost per bottle of these was over $20. And so when we would sell them for $50, 20 would be to recoup the cost of a unit, so it'd be $10. So if I ever did a sale, such as free shipping, such as buy one, get one free, I never made any money on it. And so, excuse me, I got some water, and I drank some before this, and I thought, oh yeah, we'll be good, but then I just coughed. But let me share with you what my 2023 was, dude. In October, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to pay this debt off, which a 600 unit order of pre-workout amounted to. It was just over $12,000 for all of the product. So imagine what makes this is you have to pay for the bottle, the lid, the sealing of the lid, which comes with it, the silica packet, which makes it so it doesn't cake, the scoop size, which I fucked up the first time, so we had to do another one, so the correct scoop size for the serving. All the active ingredients that go in here, and I think we had 16 active ingredients. And then you have the label printing and that whole process. And then you have all of the active ingredients that go in. And then separately from a different vendor, you have all of the flavoring powder to make it actually taste like the flavor that you want, not including the research and development that it takes to bring a product to life. My brother worked his ass off to make the Ratlife Pink Starburst flavor. Tastes fucking amazing. And the orange creamsicle flavor and the blue raspberry flavor. Like, he fucking killed it. And I wasn't able to give him anything for it for the entire time. So what happened was we charged the 600 unit order on a credit card, and I promised him to pay the credit card in full and then to give him 10% interest for taking on the venture, so as if he was a venture capitalist, and then to pay all accrued interest that the card would accrue in the time that it would take to pay off. And again, very frustrating because it would accrue over $2,000 in just interest that I vocalized early on that we could just consolidate his credit cards onto another one that's like has a 0% interest for a year sort of deal. But this whole university is about personal accountability, not blame, and I'm so over that because blame doesn't fucking get you anywhere. So blaming others or other people or your team, I've learned as being a fucking garbage leader that it was all my fault. It was all my fault. This whole fucking fuck up of Ratlife, right? And let me put a big caveat in that. Not a fuck up in the sense of as a failure, but because you do the best that you can with the knowledge and experience that you have up until that point. And so you shouldn't use the past as a baton to beat yourself to death with. You should use it as a tool to learn from, which is going to be in the book Seasons of Life, My Philosophy for Successful Living by Jim Rohn, which we'll go over in this university. But what happened was that equated to over $15,000 in debt. And I knew that there was no way that I did the math. I was like, I can't afford to live doing entrepreneurship full time because I've exhausted every single person that I know. I didn't know digital marketing at the time. That's what I'll be learning with you guys during the course of this university. But I was like, if I continue to do this without any sort of other, 9-to-5 income, I'll have this debt for the rest of my fucking forever. And so that's when I made the decision to go back to the Ratlife. And I felt like the biggest fucking failure. and it sounds counterintuitive when you are now back in the process of trying to get a job. You're like, oh, he's getting his life together. No, I felt like a complete fucking failure. I felt like such a loser. I felt like I gave up. Like it was me fucking updating my resume. I was like, this is you quitting and throwing in the fucking towel on this dream. And I had to combat with that mentally, because it's fucking hard, particularly when you are, broadcasting your whole life and you have other people, sort of watching, and then that weighs on you. Because I also learned in this past weekend in reflection, I was like, I know that a lot of people don't like me. And when I say a lot of people, everyone. Like I know that there's a plethora of people that genuinely do not like me. And the way that I combat that is I have this really big wall when I'm in California, where I'm on a grind. I don't give a fuck what other people think about me, because I've never had somebody believe in me. And so I need to have that wall. I need to have that, that fuck off, fuck you energy, watch this energy, because it's the only way that I can, continue to progress and move on. It's like, if no one's gonna fucking believe in me, I have to believe in myself. But then I also reflected, I was like, why do people love me so much when I'm abroad? And it's because when I'm abroad, I genuinely care about other people. Like, I'm there to relax, to let go, to be free. I couldn't care less about their political disposition. I couldn't care less about what time they get up or whether they go to the gym, or I don't care about any of that. I'm genuinely interested in them and why they think the way that they think. And it's so intriguing to me, and I hang on to their every word, and I make them feel so significant and adored, and I'm so present. And I feel more people with so much joy and excitement and confidence being themselves, like where they feel so comfortable in their own skin. And I would get that compliment, like, no one's ever made me feel like you've made me feel before. But when I come here in California, I don't give a fuck about other people. I don't care what they're doing, because no one here has a life I want to have, and so and that's what I learned the hard way, is do not take advice from people that aren't living the life that you want to live, man. And you could even vocalize that argument watching me. Why should you listen to me? Why should you listen to this fuck up, this failure for going on almost 8 years now? And it's your prerogative, but you also have to understand who has your best interests at heart, best interests at mind. But I'm just being honest, I'm just sharing this as I go, because I know that from this university, more so than the people that I help, because even if this is a complete failure, what's not a failure is the person that I become as a result. So that brings me to the debt. And so I felt like a failure getting a job. I mean, I started in October of 2022, and that was when I made the decision, the resolve that I need to get a job because I'm going to pay this. And then I was able to convince myself through loving help, Amanda, who lives in the UK, really, and Leah, who lives in Australia right now. These good, warm voices that said, basically of support, you're not a failure, you're not a loser, you're doing this for your dream, to keep this dream alive, even if you can't see it. And so nobody would hire me, dude. I had no confidence. Nobody would give me a fucking interview. And I was like going to things that I was so overqualified for, because when you go back to working a 9 to 5 after doing entrepreneurship, and they're asking you to do the most basic fucking tasks, it was so hard for me to bring my ego to here. Like when you run a fucking business and you work a 16-hour day and you do, whatever, and you learn, this is in the book The Alchemist, you learn how resourceful you become when you don't have a choice. Like, my rent was on the line every fucking month. I didn't know sometimes when I would get how I was gonna pay for my next meal. You have to, you find out so much about yourself with such a level of pride when that sense of urgency, when your back is backed into a corner, when there's that fire. It's a good story, not to do a tangent, but it's by the story of Genghis Khan. He would order his soldiers, when conquering foreign islands, to burn their boats. And the reason is because he wanted to leave them absent choice. You're going to take the island or you're going to die. And people, and I learned this from Tony Robbins, when it comes to dying or succeeding, tend to succeed. The problem is we give ourselves a way out, a plan B, an escape, right? So you learn that, and it's the beauty of entrepreneurship. So when I would come back to these interviews, I'm like, I could be sitting in your fucking chair. And so it was so hard for me to bring my ego down. And like, I went in with this smirk. I was like, you're kidding, right? But then I'm like, you have to play this stupid game. So because no one would hire me, in December of 2022, I would take a job at Amazon, working a graveyard shift, making less than a minimum wage, because they didn't require an interview. They were hiring anybody. And I was living in a closet in Irvine, right, on a blow-up mattress. And then the bus schedule, only the last one was just before midnight. And I would take that bus to the closest stop to Amazon, where there was meth heads and fucking tweakers and homeless people all around. And then I would walk to Amazon 3 hours before my shift started, because that was the last bus. And then pull the all-nighter, do the shifts, come back, same thing. And sometimes I would do 12-hour shifts. Sometimes I remember one time I came home, I slept for less than 10 minutes, and then I had to do the whole thing over again. And man, I was a fucking skeleton. I was running on nothing, and I was just like, but it was generating income. And then I would use that to travel, actually. I would use that to go to Brazil in February, where I would get jumped. And then I would use that to go to take my mom to Europe in the spring. And to answer the question of why didn't you use that to repay the Ratlife debt, is because my brother made it explicit that he's never going to take Ratlife as a priority. And because he wasn't making it a priority when I was under the impression that we were a team, in order to, fulfill orders or to, do any sort of work on the business or to generate any sales, I felt the same level of urgency or lack thereof for the repayment of the debt. I was like, if you're not going to fucking take this seriously as a priority, then why should I for the debt repayment? And so over the course of that year, like I said, we were able to sell over 200 bottles of pre-workout and generate over $10,000 in sales. And then I was able to pay only $4,000 towards the debt. And so that brings us to the biggest and most recent failure, which actually, before I say this, is when I got back from Europe with my mom, it was the end of the lease of that 13 months from living in the closet, right? And then I had to quit that job at Amazon to go to Brazil. And when you have no peace of mind, when you have no financial, prosperity, dude, you can't even enjoy traveling, because you don't have presence, you don't have any peace of mind, you have nothing. And so I learned that, again, the hard way. And then I would go to live in a hostel in Santa Ana, where I was surrounded by drug addicts, I was surrounded by alcoholics. There was a prostitute next door to my room, where she would have clients come at 3 a.m., do a 30-second PR, bounce, and I'm just like, and you know what I told myself? I said, while I was in the kitchen washing my dishes with cockroaches coming out, I said, this is your fault. I said, this is your fault. And I said, but what you're going to do, that's your fault too. And that's a quote by Earl Nightingale: all men are self-made, yet only the successful will admit it. And I was that guy, man. I was blaming and criticizing, condemning everybody else. But the reality of it was my fault. You and your conditions right now are the result of all the actions and decisions that you've made up until this point. You deserve where you are right now in your life. Which brings me to the most recent thing, which is I did the math. And then I would get hired at another school in Irvine. I got back into the schooling system. And it was a 10-month gig. And so the 2 months of the summer they had off, they didn't pay. So it was just over $30,000 salary, which was even less than I was making at Amazon. So it was even less than minimum wage. And so I was like, nice, I'm an even bigger failure. Then what I would do is I hit my all-time low at EDC. That for me was rock bottom. When I remember my sister gave me some money for food that I would use to pay for drugs. And I remember being surrounded by drug addicts and alcoholics, and a woman that I knew that I had been friends with for years just treated me with the biggest level of disrespect ever in my life. And I just felt like a fucking loser, and I was surrounded by losers, and I had become a fucking loser, and I was just like, I'm so fucking over this. And so I made the decision on May 21st of 2023 that I was like, I'm gonna get my fucking shit together. Fuck this. And so I made the decision also that I would rather be in an environment surrounded by positivity, encouragement, growth, support, yes, in the sacredness of my garden, than being surrounded by super horrific and shitty people and an environment, you know, for the sake of comfort or, you know, people or friends or whatever. To the severity of, I was like, I would rather live in my fucking car than be surrounded by these drug addicts, alcoholics, and prostitutes. So I did. And I also did the math, and I was like, if I continue to pay this much in rent and am making this much, I was like, there's no way I can pay off this fucking debt. And I was like, I just want to be free. I just want to be free. Because I felt like I got fucked so hard getting into the debt of this. That took me 2 years to pay off, that I alone repaid. But this whole universe is about accountability, right? It doesn't matter whose fault it is. It doesn't matter how it came to be, or whatever lack of communication or understanding or, you know, whatever. I could spend my whole fucking life blaming other people, but the reality of it is I made the decision. It was my fault. But the beauty about you taking full ownership and responsibility for your life is as soon as you say this is my fault, and you take responsibility and you take ownership and personal agency, all of a sudden, now you're in a position to change your life, to save yourself. But until you say, this is my fault, even if you feel like it's not, you say it's my fault, you give yourself the power to do something about it. But if you wait like I did for years for other people to do something or to change, or you use this is a quote by Greg Plitt, if you have other people as part of the recipe for your success, you're going to be very saddened as the result of that equation. And I did, dude. I had my brother as part of the recipe for success for Ratlife. I had my friends as a part of that recipe. And you learn very quickly, dude, that no one is going to keep your dream alive. And no one gives a fuck. And no one cares about you as much as you need to care about yourself and your goals and your dreams. Like, if you don't fucking believe in your cause, how the fuck can you expect anybody else to? So, brings us to the car. And I did the math on it. And I was just like, I do not want to carry this fucking debt into 2024. And I did the math. I was like, if I rent a room, if I do this, it's just going to bleed me of my bottom line. And so I got a new job after that to my current position where I make just over $73,000. Still feel like a failure because I know what I'm capable of. And stepping into 2024, it's my sole prerogative to be a sole provider for my woman. As in, the woman who I want, I don't want her to work another fucking day in her life. And so I'm working as hard as I can to be in that position to where I can, you know, I can be that provider solely for the woman that I want. And so I lived in my car for 93 days. 93 days, dude. And that was such a low. And what was more of a low is one of the videos that I posted the other day, fucking laughing about it. Like, do you know how much of a fucking loser I felt like to be laughing about, even because I just downloaded TikTok and that's where I'm putting the reels on, I used the thumbnail of, I loved being homeless. And then the reason that I put that, and the reason that I laugh about it is because what is the alternative? The alternative is for you to be that woe is me, the victim mentality, the depression, all this bullshit. And so all I can do to not want to punch a fucking wall or to sit in to the reality of like how much of a fucking loser and a failure I have been that's the only way that I can like keep my head above that water when I constantly feel like I'm fucking drowning or I'm walking that tightrope and it's like, dude, I'm at the fucking brink hanging on by a thread. So in those 93 days of living in my car in a parking lot of a gym with other homeless people, I was able to pay off over $8,000. It was like $8,300 in Ratlife debt, all of the principal and some of the interest. And so I was able to do that. And so every paycheck that I got, I never saw because I just went to debt and to debt and to debt and to debt. And it was fucking miserable. And there's a video that I'll post. We'll cut here. And I think everybody has that crossroads where there's an event or a circumstance or a condition that induces that state of you feeling depressed, which is quite warranted. Like, I don't make light of that or diminish that in any way. to feel depressed, to feel upset or frustrated or sad about your fucking situation. But to live in a state of depression where you choose not to do, like, for example, the past 3 fucking days where I don't have, like, there's not a bone in my body that's like, I, want to get up and, go to the gym or train my client or just whatever. And I'm just like, I'm so fucking over this, dude. I'm so sick of this situation where it's like, and then I asked myself, I said, what is it? And I'm like, I'm afraid, right? And then I'm like, okay, what are you afraid of? And then it's like, I'm afraid that it doesn't work out. You know what I mean? I'm afraid that I don't get the job offer or the interview offer and then in turn the job. I don't get the approval of the apartment. I don't get the, this. And then I'm in this fucking rat life through into fucking the new year. And I'm just like, I don't want that. That's what where the fear coincides. And so here we are, right? Is I find myself finding it through my meditations in the morning very hard to embody gratitude. I'm finding it very hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel, because it's just like, it's so easy to become defeated, to, find yourself in a state of despair. And yeah, so that's where we're at presently. Is I didn't want to film fucking yesterday. I didn't want to film the day before because I was so livid. But I was like, if I don't capture this during this fucking, transformative process, then we don't achieve authenticity. Like, if I don't show you guys the lows, the mental fucks, like the mental, agony, then it'll be essentially a lie, because then I'll be putting on this facade of, we're all sunshine and rainbows and roses, when in reality it's like I don't exaggerate when I say hanging on by a fucking thread in terms of, I don't want to say sanity, but it's like, I said it to myself when I was doing my cardio today. I said, my fucking spirit is unbreakable. Like, it doesn't matter what the circumstance, what the condition, what the event. I was like, I have unparalleled perseverance, unmatched positivity, unmatched subconscious hope. Like, that's all solidified, as in there's no amount of overwhelm or frustration or defeat or despair that'll allow me to tolerate the luxury of living in a state of depression, And so when I say I'm at that crossroads, I'm very cognizant of the choice of omitting action. If I choose to do nothing, you're fucked. You really are. Like, if you choose to allow yourself to be defeated, to be in that state of despair, dude, you get wrecked. And then I always ask myself, to what end? I say, me doing nothing isn't going to solve my problem. No one's going to come to fucking save me. No, as a man, you are only loved under the condition that you provide something. And so then there's that thought, dude, no one gives a fuck. So you're just like, I have to do this for myself. And it's not even just for myself. It's like, I know that by me escaping this rat life, by me being in a state where I can be in a position to give so much more to others, it becomes more of a responsibility to. I've said this in prior videos, not ability to. So it's less of a choice and more of like, I have to fucking pull this off. You know what I mean? So anyway. And it's when I really learned that depression is a choice, complete choice. And that's going to be the polarizing stance that I take with this university, is I'm going to be real in every lecture, in every episode. I'm not going to coddle any of my students. If you're in this university, it's because you're seeking truth and principle and not bullshit. And what is bullshit is the lie that depression is anything but a choice. Being depressed, maybe that was out of your control because of some event, right? But choosing to live in a state of depression is absolutely a fucking choice. And I knew this because while I was sitting in my car towards day 80 or day 90, feeling like a piece of fucking shit, I didn't have any inclining to wake up in the morning, dude, to start my day, to go to the gym, to do this whole thing over again. I felt the ache in my fucking body that was like, I don't want it. I don't want this life. I don't want to continue playing this fucking character that I'm trying to play, which is what depression is. I learned that Jim Carrey vocalizes it very well. Depression is your body saying fuck you to this character that you're trying to play. So if you're in a state of depression, it's because your circumstances are depressing. It's your body telling you to stop, to change, to take action. Fuck this shit, right? It's trying to motivate you to do something about it instead of sitting there feeling fucking sorry for yourself. Depression exists in a vacuum of luxury for people who don't actually have hardship or adversity. Because all you have to do is go to a place where they have actual hardship, actual adversity, actual struggles, and you'll be like, oh, that's weird, it doesn't exist here. Because they're too busy fucking focusing on survival. So, to bring it back, is I lived in my car for 93 days to pay off over $8,000 in debt of what had taken me over 2 years to pay off. And that was where we've come to now. So, if you feel like you've been a failure your entire life, believe me, you haven't felt like I've felt. You haven't felt like a fucking loser amongst your peers, or a failure every fucking day, or a disappointment to your family, or whatever. It's like I see the women who I've wanted pursue other people, and I've seen the friends that I've wanted, or the friends that I've had, but which I've had to, and this will be in a Weeds in Our Garden video that I'll redo. But when you have the belief that you have one life and you're gonna die and you have nothing to lose by going for it ever, and you look around at everyone in your life living a life of fucking mediocrity and a life of perpetual slavery and a life of settlement, and you look and you say, I don't want that life. I don't want to be you. I don't want to drive a car that I don't want to drive. I don't want to date somebody who I'm not completely fucking head over heels for. I don't want to come home to a shitty place, I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet, living like a fucking rat for the crumbs of life. And so, when I say it starts with belief, man, it does, because when I started my bodybuilding journey, dude, I weighed 145 pounds. 145 pounds at my height of 6'2", and I told everyone, dude, I was gonna look like a fitness model one day. And I got laughed at. No one fucking believed in me. And so you have to put on that front, that ego, just like, fuck you, watch this, right? And it's the same thing with right now and why I love doing this with the premise of this university is, I know I'm going to be monumentally successful. Monumentally. And I know that no one believes in me. And I accept now one. And I learned this from Patrick Bet-David. That's all you need. You need one fucking person to believe in you. That's it. Unconditionally, dude. And as a man, dude, you're not loved unconditionally. No man is. You're loved on the condition of the value and the usefulness that you can provide to other people, as it should be. And the only people who are loved unconditionally are women and children. And that's it. So, we come to the end of orientation on this fine January 1st. This isn't pre-recorded, dude. This is day of. This is Monday, mother morning. And if you're watching this, still, you're thinking to yourself, wow, maybe I might learn something in this university. Maybe I'm gonna be given the truth every fucking day. Maybe I'm gonna be told what I don't want to hear, but what I need to hear. Maybe together, if we're just honest with who we are, with where we are, maybe we can get to where we want to go. Maybe we're not alone on this journey. Maybe it's okay to not be there yet. Maybe you're not a failure unless you quit, unless you give up. Maybe we all can make it, dude. Maybe Tark is right in the sense that anyone can escape their fucking rat life, dude. I have to believe that. I've had to believe that, dude, for over 10 years now, ever since I started my journey on personal development. Like, if I didn't fucking believe that I can make it, dude, then I would never be the person that I am now. It all started when I was born. Stupid. But in my psychoanalysis of myself the other night, I was like, why am I so walled up, particularly in California? And I think it stems from a fear of abandonment. And going back from childhood, like my parents got divorced when I was 10, so I was like, my father left me. And then I have a plethora history of rejection from other people, to the point where even the other day while my friend Ricardo was visiting here from Mexico, I was like, it's so hard for me to let go with other people. And particularly here, that's not an issue when I'm abroad, but in California, it's so hard for me to just let go, to just be, to just put down that fucking wall. And it's probably, you know, if we really dive into Tark's failure, the defense mechanism of, you know, don't want to get hurt or to experience that hurt again. So we gotta put up that wall, which we can go on another tangent another day in terms of other people's psychology problems. But that's for another day. I'll finish with this. Excuse me. That's why I'm doing this university. I just want to show people that it's possible, dude, that anybody can escape the rat life. That it starts with belief and the courage to pursue, dude. I got that quote from Walt Disney. He said, all dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them. And I truly believe that. I started my fitness journey watching a video by a man named Aziz Sergeyevich Shavershian, a 22-year-old Australian bodybuilder who passed away. And he had that mantra, we're all gonna make it. It's in a famous video. And it's that idea, dude. I had to believe that. It was a lie at first. When I was 18 years old and I watched that video weighing 145 pounds from watching a video of a guy who had the same backstory as me, weighing 145 pounds, playing fucking World of Warcraft, you know, watching porn, doing all of that garbage, he was able to believe that it was possible for him, right? And so what that video planted that seed of belief in me. Because when you see somebody who has the same backstory, same upbringing as you, right? You're like, if he can do it, I can too. And so that's the whole premise of this university, dude, is it starts with belief. Like, even if it's a lie that you have to tell yourself, that you can escape your rat life. I don't know what your rat life is, dude. I don't know if your mental health is the best. I don't know if you're happy with your finances. Maybe you hate the relationship that you're in. You know, I know so many men who have a fear of telling their woman how it is. Like, I can't imagine being in that position where you don't have authority in your own fucking household, if you can't even be a king of your own castle. I know so many guys like that and I know so many women like that in relationships where they're afraid to tell their partner what they want or what makes them happy. And I'm just like, number one, if you're gonna die, and number two, of anyone who you should feel the most confident being yourself or asking for whatever makes you happy, it should be your partner. Like, the one person who should be there to exalt your pleasure, your ecstasy, your euphoria. If not them, then who? So I've never understood that idea, why you would choose to be in a relationship with somebody who you were afraid to be open and to be honest with. And the reality of it is, just like the rat life, dude, people get put into these positions where their whole life is threatened because they might lose their house, they might lose their kids, they might lose their, you know, their everything, dude, like that. And it's just like, what if we could become better, right? What if we could earn our right to sit at the table of made men? You know, what if through the totality and journey of this quest, of this university that I've been charged with by God to see this through to fruition, what if it resulted in other men taking ownership of their life, dude? What if it resulted in people dressing sharper, showing up with courtesy, class, respect, right? Taking pride in your appearance, respecting yourself so that in turn others begin to respect you. What if you took your physicality seriously, dude? What if you started going to the gym? What if you stopped being a worthless piece of shit? You know, what if you had the courage to believe it's possible for you to escape your rat life, right? What if you had the courage to pursue your goal, your dream? There's an interview with Lewis Howes of School of Greatness and Kobe Bryant, and he said, what is your definition of greatness? And he said, you know, my definition of greatness is my work inspiring the person next to me to pursue their passion, their goal, right? Not basketball related. But if you could watch me and what I do, and the time that I'll be waking up every morning, and the effort that I'll be applying into the gym and into this university and improving the quality of it, and just this constant pursuits of how can I give more and how can I become better. Maybe in turn that'll inspire you to have the courage to believe in yourself, to have the courage to pursue your ambition and dream and passion and drive, what gets you up in the morning, you know? So I think that's the totality of orientation, dude, is anyone can escape the fucking rat life, dude. Anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, where you started, or how far back you feel like you are in life right now. You know, I've shared with you the summary of, years of failure, dude. Years. Where I've been alone with tears coming out of my eyes, saying, these people look up to you, dude. Like, it's a thought that's so hard for me to conceptualize because I view myself as that 145-pound kid that I was over 10 years ago when I look at myself in the fucking mirror, right? So the concept and the idea that other people look up to me, and that I told myself the other day, I was like, dude, they're waiting for you. They're waiting for you to lead them. Like, and at my lowest low, another one, was when I moved into this apartment and I had a drug overdose again. Well, I've never had an overdose before, but this one was. And it was the closest I've ever been to dying. And again, to really push that fucking loser, piece of shit, failure, like feeling and sensation. In case I haven't made it any more clear. I said, in this year, you need to be the fucking standard. And I made that so fucking explicit. I said, with like that grated teeth, I was like, you need to be the fucking standard of men. As in, I want everyone to watch my story on Instagram or on TikTok or on YouTube or whatever the fuck. I want them to see what time I get up in the morning. I want them to see how hard I train. I want them to see the consistency of my content or the etiquette in my speech, or the effort that I'm putting into this university. I want them to constantly look at me and then look at themselves in the fucking mirror every day. And I want to be that standard, that pillar of, if he can fucking do this, I can do more. I want every woman to watch my stories, to watch my Instagram, to watch the whatever the fuck. And I want them to look at their man and compare the two. And I want every fucking day to close the gap of who I am and the potential of who I can be. And that's the point of this university, dude. It's not about the goal, man. It's not about what you get. It's not about the women or the assets, the accolades, the finances. Fuck all that shit. It's about the person that you become in order to achieve it, dude. That's the victory. I've said that in a prior video because it's so true. Life, it's not about what you get, it's about who you become. Because if you become more through this university, dude, through these books, through these lectures, if you become more, you have more to give other people. This isn't about you. And so the whole point of this, dude, is I want to make made men. Like, you look around in this world of fucking degeneracy, dude, these losers. I can't open Instagram and go to search without seeing a fucking idiot. I can't go and turn a corner without seeing a chick on OnlyFans broadcasting and marketing herself. And it's like, where the fuck did this world go so to shit to where this is being not only allowed and tolerated, but celebrated? This garbage. this smut, this degeneracy. And it's like, no. There are very few voices left in this life of truth. Very few, dude, of light. Very few of honor, self-respect, integrity, character, work ethic, discipline, merit. Nobody talks about that shit anymore because it's not cool. It's not the status quo. It's not what they want to purport. But the reality of it is, without those standards for yourself in a society that isn't going to have any for you, you're going to fucking hate your life. You're going to find yourself waking up drowning in debt, working a shit job, having a shit boss, living in a shit home, driving a shit car, dating a shit partner. And you're going to say, where did I go wrong? Right? So the point of this university, dude, is to bring back that fucking standard for men. And that's why I want to push that envelope, that this isn't about a university primarily for women. Not to say that they can't benefit from it. But it starts with making men what they used to be, dude. Men of character, men of work ethic, men of discipline, consistency, heart, perseverance, passion. Where the fuck did that go? I don't know. Men have become so feminine, and don't get me wrong, I'll push that envelope. Dude, I was raised by a single mother of 5. I'm having to learn later in life how to be a man because no one fucking taught me. I didn't have a masculine role model. I didn't have a male father figure when I was younger. And so I've even when I was younger growing up, I couldn't tell you the number of women who thought I was gay or whatever, because I was so, for me personally, when I would explain it, I was like, I'm so confident in my sexuality, I didn't feel the need to puff up my chest. But the reality of it is feminine masculine is a spectrum, and absent a real masculine role model, which are completely non-existent in this fucking life, I could name maybe less than 5, is you're gonna find a lot of feminine men, and you're gonna find a lot of masculine women, complete in disarray, in complete lack of harmony, dude. When it's like men at their best are both that in harmony with their masculine and their feminine. They're assertive, they're confident, they're dominant, but they're also kind and considerate. They're savage servants. They're looking to provide and to protect the people that they care about, people that they love. And women at their best, dude, in their true feminine, beautiful, dude. Beautiful. I fucking love seeing women full of that passion and heart and light. But that's found when they don't have to assume the role of the provider. Because when they do, they have to be this hyper-masculine. And then the whole beauty of life, dude, just goes to the gutter. Because men aren't what they used to be, dude, and women aren't what they used to be. It's like, I saw a great video on Instagram the other day. It was this black dude. He's like, we're losing recipes. And it's so true. It's like the concept of a woman cooking and cleaning, doing any sort of traditional task is, dude, it offends women today. It's mind-blowing. And the thought of a man being a provider and a protector is, again, a lost concept, or to have any sort of character or integrity. And what I'll tell you through my own experience and my own failure is you don't get any of that shit through smooth sails, right? Through an easy life. Men without trauma aren't made men because there's nothing that has forced them to be more consistent, hardworking, disciplined, right? To overcome anything. And we live in a world of very weak men. Weak. Not just physically, which most of them are, emotionally weak, so brittle. When I go from entrepreneur to back to the 9 to 5, people freak out over nothing. It's like there's no level of stress tolerance. It blows my fucking mind. But now I have the understanding of why. It's because they don't know what real stress is. They don't know what real adversity is. So something like a fucking email raises their cortisol. And it's like, what the fuck is this? You know? Excuse me. But that's the goal. That's my mission. That is what I've been charged with by God, is to see this university to fruition, to what it could be. And what it could be is the ultimate escape. Dude, what it could be is a dent in the matrix, is the awakening of the rat life, of your rat race. The idea that anyone could escape, dude. And it's even in the book The Alchemist too, which is going to be in semester 1, is anyone can escape their shit life, man. Anyone. Because if the system was set up to where no one could escape, there would be that feeling of despair. But the fact that you see some people who are free, it gives you that bit of hope. But it's going to be hell, dude. Like, it's going to be hell to get to the other side. I can tell you that from my experience. Like, if you think I have a sense of pride, of accomplishment, of living in a car for 93 days, or being perpetually fucking broke, or being drowning in debt, like, you're going to have to really check your ego for this university. And to be honest with who you are and where you are. As in, to take a before picture, completely naked, of how you look right now. To look at the food in your house, in your refrigerator, to see what diet that you're consuming. To ask yourself what time you're getting up in the morning. If you're cutting the corners in your life, if you're shortcutting it here and there, thinking that neglect doesn't bleed into every other aspect of your life, dude. It all counts. All of it. The same person who doesn't make his bed every morning, the same person who doesn't invite stress and adversity into their life, dude, you're the same physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally weak person that goes around this life in abundance, in abundant numbers, right? But if you want to be one of the exceptional few, if you want to, it takes no fucking effort to stand out from your peers, dude. None. Because we live in a world of filter, of bullshit, of facade, of mask, of, particularly with where AI is going, dude. The one thing that's going to be the beacon of light in the future is authenticity. People are going to crave it even more than they do now. The reason that anybody who's watching this video is still watching this video is because you know, dude, I'm not speaking any bullshit. You know it's all truth and transparency. Or if you don't think it's truth or whatever, you at least believe that I believe what I'm saying. And so that's the direction that I want to go. That's where I want to start this university. Dude, I was thinking about it. I was like, who's this university for, dude? It's for the fuck-ups, man. It's for the failures. Dude, it's for the misfits. There's a reason why certain places in the world like Berlin are my favorite, dude. It's a place where no matter who you are, there's a place for you to belong, you know? And so that's what this university is, dude. The ones who bought into the lies, man. The lies of that college matters, that getting all this bullshit debt is a good thing, that as a woman, you pursuing your career is the greatest thing you'll ever do, or that your career fucking matters in the slightest. And everything that I'm saying are going to be very hard fucking truths. And if you don't think it's a truth, I can't tell you how many late 20, early 30-year-olds who I know who bought that bullshit that their career means something and their biological clock is ticking. They're looking around and be like, oh, no man gives a fuck about my job. Or the lie of women who in their 20s fuck around and pursue the attention of everyone, not understanding that, dude, you have 10 years to secure a long-term mate, a long-term partner. Because when you're in your late 20s, early 30s, who are you competing against? You're competing against your 20-year-old self, man. And just like women who are in their mid-20s, and this isn't, I love women, but these are just facts that are going to be stated in this university, is the same women who were pursuing, whoever at the time, and disregarding all those good men, and now they're in their late 20s, when they had all of the options and all of the access that's exacerbated by social media. And now they're in their late 20s, early 30s, and those same guys, the roles get reversed. And now the guy has all the options. And I see so many women do later in life, they begin to settle. Settling is the wrong word, but they get the accountability of their actions of their youth. And it's super shitty because they'll end up with a guy who treats them like a queen, but that they can't respect. And so it ends up with the divorce rate is over 50%. That's not an accident. Like, they want to break down the fucking home, dude. The foundation of the home. And it's like, So you're going to find women hyper masculine, you're going to find men hyper feminine, you're going to see all these pride flags in the fucking classrooms. It's just, the world is going to shit. And I feel no bullshit like I am charged with being that saving fucking grace, dude. Like, that is how daunting of a task this has been for me to start this university. But the reason that I haven't started it in the past 2 years is because I've always been surrounded by people who make me feel self-conscious or insecure to just be myself, right? And don't get me wrong, dude, I'm a very happy, very positive, very, very positive guy. I've had to be. But if you don't hear any of this, dude, if you don't hear the truth or the reality, as the women who are fucking around in their 20s and then they have to go through that epiphany phase of that their career nobody gives a fuck about, doesn't mean shit. And because all you have to do is watch a video from Jordan Peterson where he, as in his clinical psychology practice, will be with that 50-year-old woman who didn't have kids, didn't have grandkids because she didn't have kids, super successful, millionaire, comes home to an empty fucking house, dude, miserable, alone as fuck. When you disregard the fact that it's the most beautiful thing for you to have a child, to start a family, I love how Jordan verbalized it. He was like, your ancestors, since the dawn of fucking time, since the history of your ancestors had to reproduce for you to be here today. And you think you're going to be the first one in the history of your entire bloodline's existence to find fulfillment in the absence of children? He's like, I don't think so. And it's super unfortunate that the statistic by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, that by 2030, it's actually active now, but it'll be, it's active now. Over 50% of women between 25 and 44 will be single and childless forever. It's fucking depressing. I don't say that with any sort of happiness or pride. I say that because of how the modern education system has led you to believe, and it's by the propaganda that gets propagated. My vocabulary will increase in this university as well, but what's been purported by the masses. And I want to hammer these fucking pain thresholds for the women watching this, for the guys watching it. So that's women in terms of how they've gotten psyops, how they've gotten fucked, not in the literal sense, in terms of their journey. And then for men, men know this extremely well because of the reality of their circumstance. When you wake up to no text, to no DM, to no notification, to no women, to no whatever the fuck, and you realize that you are fucking worthless, useless, no one gives a fuck about you, no one cares about your problems or your woes, because we all have that same hardship, we all have that cross to bear. And the reality is that until you become useful, until you make yourself a man of worth and substance and value, dude, no one's gonna give a fuck about you ever. And so you have to save yourself. For anybody watching this, dude, that's the whole premise of this. It's why the logo of Ratlife is a key. It's because this university, dude, I feel like we'll give each other a fucking chance. And that's it. Like, it's a fucking, you can call it a snowball's chance, you can call it whatever, but it's like the idea that it's possible, dude, that you can escape. That you can escape your fucking rat life, man. That you can make it, right? If you don't believe that, even if it's a lie that you have to tell yourself, if the day you fucking believe it is the day that seed takes roots. And as you think, so you are. If you believe it's possible, it is. If you believe depression is not a choice, it is. If you believe it isn't a choice, it is. I said is not and isn't. If you believe it is a choice, it is. If you believe you can make it, and that is possible, bro. Why did I say bro? I was trying to end on a serious note. I looked over there and distracted me. If you believe that anyone can escape, it starts with belief and the courage to pursue. And with Ratlife, there's a possibility that we're all gonna make it, dude. It is. So with that is orientation. And if I haven't made it explicitly clear, I want you to know that we're all gonna make it. So, this is me being completely open, being completely honest, being completely transparent, showing you all of my fucking failures, all of my feeling like such a worthless piece of shit, a loser, dude, a bum, whatever you want to. I can say all the names in the English language, dude, to myself, but the reality of it is there's a quote by Jim Rohn that says the last 7 years don't have to be, or 6 years don't have to be like the next 6 years. It's a choice. Like, you can choose, you can decide today that everything that I've been told was bullshit. You can decide today to start thinking for yourself, not to take what I say at face value, but to begin to challenge and question it. It's like, that's the most important thing that they don't tell you in school. They say, do as you're told, listen this is the way. It's like, listen, absorb, consider, ponder. But you'll know in this university, I'm never gonna tell you, you ought to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. Fuck that. It's all gonna be food for consideration, food for thought. Because the way that I see it is, if we pursue excellence, if we pursue heart and character and work ethic and discipline and consistency and passion and excitement and enthusiasm, dude, if we pursue a life of betterment and growth and prosperity, and we focus on giving, if we can focus on our what gets us up in the morning, do what we're passionate about, what gets us excited, if we can lean into the people who love us and stop chasing people who, you know, make you feel unconfident being yourself, hard to love, you know, uncomfortable being who you are, and we choose to surround ourselves with killers, with winners, with, I don't give a fuck what, you know, what your bank balance is, or what your body fat percentage is, or how many books you've read, or what car you drive. Like, I don't care about any of that shit, dude. You can have a heart of gold and be a novice, and you can have all the materialistic things in the world and be an arrogant fucking idiot. And so that's what I want to set the precedent of the culture of these universities, dude. There's no victims in my fucking class. No one's coming to save you. No one. All I can do is give you the key. And that's what Ratlife is, dude. It's the key. It's the key to your escape. At least I believe that. And so I'll work every day trying to prove that. So on that note, that's the end of class. I'll see you guys tomorrow, or Wednesday, for the first lecture.